What's up, everybody? We're back. It's week 14, and know who else is back? Matt's back after his bye week last week, and we're super excited to have him back in the studio. We're super excited because week 13, we rolled. Fantastic week with our picks, and we've looked at the lines. We've looked at the picks already. We're ready to go, and week 14 is going to be another good week. I'm Matt with Beard Laws. You can find me everywhere with Beard Laws, and gentlemen, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me all over social media at Brandon J. McDermott.
And you can find me over on social media at the Ohana Jones.
Thursday football is almost here, and let's get into it. It's a game that probably not a lot of people want to watch, except unless you're a Steelers fan, potentially like me, or maybe you just want to go Skol. Pittsburgh is traveling to take on Minnesota Vikings, where you're going to see a lot of Skol. And right now, the Vikings are a 3-point home favorite.
Very intriguing game, and Matt, you may get another chance to be screaming Skol come Thursday. Vikings are fresh off a terrible showing against our little brother and really historical rival Detroit. I wouldn't call them a rival right now because their games aren't usually that good, but it was this last week. But the Lions did tag their first win of the season. The Steelers, meanwhile, took out the Ravens in thrilling fashion. One team is trending up, the other teams have been snake bitten. But in the NFL, we know one thing, and that's last week means nothing. I'm taking the Vikings to cover at home.
Look, it's pretty hard to figure out both of these teams, right? I never thought I would be able to say this, but this will be the matchup of the only two that have played the Detroit Lions and not win this year. I mean, I'll lean towards the Steelers because they at least tied with Detroit. And yes, I am going to use the Lions as my only analysis here. So I'm going with the Steelers.
Big Ben had a pretty good week for him, even though he kind of announced and threw out some rumors that this is it. So I see the Steelers kind of playing a little bit extra harder for the veteran. But something that intrigues me is Minnesota is started at 4. It's down to 3. They're not going to probably have Delvin Cook, Adam Thielen. They're probably not going to have him. Kirk Cousins, he's playing pretty well. Threw the ball around against Detroit fairly well. They found a way to lose. Steelers, they kind of got lucky. I'm going to go Steelers against the Vikings on the road with the points. I think it's going to be a close game. I think they got enough. All right, let's talk about the other two teams in the division. We got Baltimore heading to take on the Cleveland Browns, and Cleveland is a 2.5-point home favorite.
Weren't we just here? The Browns played the Ravens just 2 weeks ago. Then they had a bye week, and, well, here we are again. Will the bye week help the Browns win? They lost last time 16-10. They did force 4 picks from Lamar Jackson, but they still found a way to lose. So who knows? But that said, it's in Cleveland. They're coming off a bye. So I'm going to take the Browns in a very tight rivalry game to win.
Last time I was here, it was the Browns and the Ravens. Wait, so that means if they take a bye and I take a bye and we're coming back to the same match, does that make me the Cleveland Browns too? Oh, I don't know if I want that. With that said, I'm going to take Baltimore here as well.
This is nothing against you, Matt. All right. It's not that I'm not going to go with you if you are the Cleveland Browns. It's weird to say it's a must-win game in week 14, but if they want any chance for that number 1 seed, they want any chance to continue to potentially have home field advantage, they need this win. Like I said, 16-10 win a couple of weeks ago. I like the Ravens here to cover the 2.5-point spread. Let's talk about a game that I don't have any interest, but maybe you guys do. Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to take on the Tennessee Titans, and the Titans currently are an 8.5-point favorite.
You know, the Jags are in last place in their division and in the hearts of their fans. The Titans have been hampered by injuries, but get this, they're still 8-4 with a statistically average defense. At home against a 2-10 Jags team, I'm going to take the Titans to win and to cover.
The Titans are coming off of their bye, but I still think their offense is in disarray without Derrick Henry, right? Look, the last time these two played, Tennessee had needed 130 yards and 2 touchdowns from Derrick Henry and got less than 200 yards passing from their quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. Yes, it's the Jags. I get it. But I think a double-digit spread is too much to ask for.
This is going to be a little bit of a tricky one because I like Tennessee if Julio Jones and A.J. Brown are back in the lineup. When they can open up the passing game, the running game is there. Doesn't matter who is running behind that offensive line. So I'm going to take Tennessee at home as long as the wide receivers do suit up and play. If they don't, I'm assuming the line will go a little bit, and I think the Jaguars then could potentially keep it close. Let's move on to another one with another pretty big spread because, well, let's face it, Las Vegas Raiders, they're playing pretty terrible. The Chiefs, I don't feel like they're playing great, but they're winning games. They're finding ways to win, and they are at home and currently a 9.5-point favorite.
The Chiefs took care of a bad Broncos team and did so in dominant fashion last week. This is another big division rivalry and one where the Chiefs are favored by double digits. Well, 9.5. The Raiders, they've got a decent offense and an average defense. The Chiefs, they've got an elite offense and the 26th ranked defense. Not giving fans a lot to be comfortable with on that side of the ball. But the Raiders have a lot to make up for after losing 3 of their last 5. I'm going to take the Chiefs to cover here, even though we talked all last week about these rivalry games late in the season with big spreads and the underdog coming in and making sure those spreads aren't covered. But I still think, even after last week against the Broncos with that big spread, that the Chiefs will do the same thing and cover here.
It's easy to think that the Chiefs can just dominate here, but there's something about divisional games, and I know they even beat the Broncos by a lot last week, but I don't think that the Raiders can win, but I think they can cover here. And a little bit is because of what you just said, Matt. The Chiefs have been just finding ways to win games. That doesn't mean that they can cover a big spread, and I think it's too big here.
Something that's kind of been stuck in my head since last week when John filled in for Matt was the statistic of underdogs late in the season being able to cover double-digit spreads. Mahomes, he hasn't been the Patrick Mahomes that we've seen in the start of his career. He seems a little bit off. That offense isn't quite clicking. I think they win, but I like the Raiders with the points. I think Derek Carr, I think he's on this play well every other week trend, and he was terrible last week. He was good on Thanksgiving, so maybe he'll pretend that it's Thanksgiving, and if he wins, he gets a turkey leg. So we're going to go with the Raiders and the points here. New Orleans Saints, they're going to travel to take on the the New York Jets. And currently, the Saints are a 5-point favorite on the road.
The Saints have had trouble this year on offense, but it really shouldn't matter this game. The Jets have the worst defense in the league, both on paper and by statistics, and, well, if you just watch any of their games. That said, Deontay Harris just got suspended for 3 games, and Cam Jordan was just placed on the COVID-19 list. Something to look out for, perhaps, but I say the Saints still cover here. No matter who they start at QB.
And I will also mention that the Jets have also had a little bit of a carousel of quarterbacks this season. Both teams have dealt with injuries at that position. The Saints have had a better defense, even though Cam Jordan may be out. I just think that they are better than the Jets defense that, let's face this, allowed Gardner Minshew to look incredible with his bomber jacket. And I think the Saints should control this one enough to cover.
Especially if Kamara comes back and has, a continued full week of practice, gets back into hitting a little bit. If he's healthy, I think the Saints cover this no problem. If he's not healthy, then I still think the Saints cover this no problem. I feel like they're going to go into Jersey and just wipe the Jets. So, I like the Saints here. Let's talk about a little bit of a rivalry game with the Dallas Cowboys traveling to take on a Washington team who's playing some pretty decent football. Currently, the Cowboys are only a 4-point road favorite.
The Cowboys notched an important win against the Saints prior to a 10-game break before this week's game against the Washington football team. That said, this is a rivalry game, and Washington hates the Cowboys. The game is in the nation's capital. Can the Cowboys show the league and the world that they're not pretenders? Well, I think they can, but I don't think they cover. I'm taking the Cowboys in the money line.
Well, this is a big game with playoff implications, but I still think that there's a big enough gap between these two talent-wise to where I'll trust the Cowboys to cover in this one. I mean, Washington's improved defense does scare me, but I still think there's too much talent on the Dallas side.
I mean, I want to agree with you guys, but there's just something about a rivalry game. There's just something about the way that the Washington football team is playing right now. I like them to keep this close and potentially even win this game. Like we've talked about before, I think bettors kind of look 1 week at a time, and they kind of see how Washington got lucky, or they stole a win, or maybe the Raiders lost it. But either way, I feel like they're going to put a complete game. And we talked about earlier in the year how the Washington football team had one of, if not the best defenses. Well, they stunk, but that defense doesn't. It's playing fairly, well, pretty mediocre, but I like them here to potentially get the win, but I like Washington with the points at home. Let's talk about a team that really upset me last week. Atlanta Falcons was the only game I think that we talked about in week 13 right here that I lost. I liked them with all the points. They still found a way to let me down. They're going to Carolina, and Carolina is currently a 2.5-point favorite at home.
Another rivalry game that not many outside of North Carolina and Georgia are going to be watching. Well, at least outside of those folks, the 3 of us in Vegas. But both of these teams are statistically terrible, except for Carolina, which has one of the top 3 statistical defenses in the league. Carolina is fresh off a bye, and Atlanta has lost 3 of their last 4. I'm taking the home team, Panthers, to cover here.
All the concerns surround the Panthers offense as they fired their offensive coordinator, but their defense is still legit. So coming off of that bye, I still think that they'll have enough to take out the Falcons and cover here.
Cam Newton, could he get any worse than he did before the bye week? And what was he, like 5 passes for 92 yards and a couple of interceptions? I feel like it can't get any worse. Mainly, you made me mad, Atlanta, so I'm going Carolina here to win big, but definitely to cover the spread. Seattle, with a big win last week, they're going to travel to take on the Houston Texans. And Seattle, because of that big win, they are a 7-point favorite on the road.
This should be an easy game to call, at least if this weren't the NFL. The Texans are 32nd in overall offense, 28 in overall defense. They were just shut out 31-0, I believe, by the Colts last week. Remember how I said last week's doesn't matter? Well, if a team knows it's bad, well, last week does matter. That trickles down throughout the franchise. I see the Seahawks winning and covering here.
Look, I like looking for moments that I can point to. And there was one in the Seahawks win this past Sunday where Russell Wilson placed a perfect ball for Tyler Lockett in stride in the end zone, which made me think, look, he's back. Just that one. Russ looks like he's ready to finish the season strong, and well, it's the Texans. So I think the Seahawks win and cover here.
I like that the Seahawks had a great win, even though, John last week was a Niners fan and was very confident in his team. So, John, if you're watching this, I told you, I picked Seattle. If Tyrod Taylor was playing this game, I liked Houston. And I'm not sure. I know he had a wrist injury, so I'm not quite sure if he's going to come in or not. I'm going to go Seattle on the road. Let's continue on. We have the Detroit Lions are traveling to take on Brandon's Denver Broncos, and Denver is an 8-point home favorite.
Well, I can promise you this. The Broncos are likely going to play well against the Lions, and the Lions should likely keep it close. That's what they've done all year this year. The last 4 games have gone this way for the Lions. Tie, lost by 3, lost by 2, and win by 2. So it'll be close. I don't have a lot of faith in this Broncos team, but I am taking the Broncos in the money line.
I'll say that the Broncos can win, and they can definitely beat this Detroit Lions team who are, yes, they're coming off a win themselves against the Vikings, but sometimes getting that first win kind of gives you that, feeling of elation, and maybe you'll kind of take it back a step the next week. And well, the Broncos will be able to beat them, but I don't know if they have enough offensive firepower to keep on this money line and really cover here. So I will take the Lions just to cover, but not by much.
Last week, I said Detroit gets their first week, and I wasn't like Brandon, who said it the first 11 weeks. I was confident that they could take down Minnesota. If you don't believe me, just go watch the episode, or if there's some fancy editing, then it'll be played right now. I'm going to say this, and this is something that I don't think anybody's ever said, at least in a long time, since maybe Barry Sanders plays. The Lions are going to win back-to-back games. Not just because Brandon's over here and I'm trying to get one up on him. I think the Lions are playing well, and they're like, hey, we got to win. We know what that feels like. We got to tie. They're going to do something crazy. They're going to have a winning streak. It may end next week, but they're going to win and easily cover those points. The New York Giants are traveling to the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Chargers are a 10.5-point home favorite.
Big line in this one. The Chargers are big home favorites. You might be uncomfortable looking at the line here until you see that the Giants are who the Chargers are playing. To top that off, the Giants are injury riddled. This is shaping to be the week that I take the big covers. I've done so already this show, which is probably why everybody's going against me. I'm taking the Giants to cover here.
Well, it looked good in terms of the Chargers being able to handle a good Bengals team for maybe the first half. And then the Bengals all of a sudden started making the Chargers look very beatable by any team. And then the Chargers finished strong. So I really don't know about this LA Chargers team. I do know about this New York Giants team, and yeah, it's not going to happen. I like the Chargers here too.
I originally thought that, but for whatever reason, whenever I continue to say that it is the worst division in football and they're garbage, they somehow at least continue to cover spreads, even win a game or two. So just because I've beat up on the Giants all year, just like every other opponent they pretty much played, I'm going to go with them. It's a lot of points. It's late in the year. I'm going to take the Giants with the points. Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was a game that a lot of people weeks ago thought could potentially be a Super Bowl matchup. We get to see it here in the late games, and Tampa Bay is the home favorite at 3 points right now.
And the Bucs are burning up right now, finally getting back on track. The Bills, they've been good and, bad this season, but the talent is there. This year, the Bucs are 4-1 as favorites, but just 6-6 this year against the spread. The Bills are 6-4 against the spread this year, really clear as mud. But I'm going to take the ageless wonder Tom Brady and the boys to cover here at home.
Defensively, these teams have similar problems. Both have depleted secondaries right now, but the Bucs have been playing well because, well, they've been running the ball. Tom Brady has been good, but not great. This may be one of those games in the middle of the season that hurts Tampa Bay, and Buffalo may want or need this game more. I'm with the Bills Mafia here.
Tampa Bay, they haven't been great against the spread or at home. You know what? I'm going Bills Mafia. I'm going with him. I'm going to carry his bye week. He's been studying these lines all week. I'm going to go with Matt here. I'm going to go with the Bills and the points. I think this is going to be a great, close game. And one of the games that has the closest spread is the San Francisco 49ers heading to the other coast to take on the Cincinnati Bengals, who might not have Joe Burrow's 100%.
You know, Matt said the Bills and the Buccaneers was going to be a potential look ahead at the Super Bowl. Well, I'll tell you this is going to be a battle of the replays of the 80s Super Bowls. Well, not really. But it's a matchup of two really good teams. Don't be confused by the Niners 6-6 record. They have a top 12 offense and a top 10 defense. Both teams are coming off losses, so one of these franchises, they're going to walk away with a smile on their face. That is, unless there's a tie. I'm taking the Niners, though, to upset here on the road.
Careful with both of these teams. Look, the 49ers did not have Deebo Samuel last week, and if they get him back this week, yeah, Brandon, they are one of the better offenses in this league. And, well, the Bengals, I said it before, I think they just have so much talent, especially offensively, even if Burrow is injured. I'll stick with Cincy here, even though they have to be the ones that cover and win. I'll go with the Bengals just because of their talent offensively. Tyler Boyd looked too good, and he's their third receiver.
I think Cincinnati right now on paper is the better team coming off that loss, like you said. But I know Mixon was a little beat up. Burrows was a little beat up. But at the end of the day, who isn't beat up? It's week 14. This line could change depending on who's in, who's out. But if it's right now, -1, I like Cincy at home. You know who else is at home and plays pretty well and has long flowing hair as their quarterback and arguably one of the greatest, because we talked about this last week. Chicago Bears traveling to take on the Green Bay Packers. This is a huge spread. Green Bay 11.5 points at home.
One of my favorite rivalries in the NFL at the frozen confines of Lambeau Field. The Packers are fresh off a bye week. The Bears, they're fresh off a 4-interception game by Justin Fields. Green Bay is 13-3 against the spread in their last 16 games overall. That includes 5-0 in their last 5 home games. I'm taking the Packers to get ahead early, to keep the pedal to the metal, and to win by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'll agree here just off the bat, but I will say in order for the Packers to win, they have to air it out. That's what they've been doing. I know there's a little movement out there saying free Aaron Jones because, you know, he's the running back that's not getting the ball right now because the Packers just don't really care about the ground game. Guess who does care about the ground game? The Chicago Bears. And David Montgomery has been looking good, but can the Packers really just stifle that run and force Justin Fields to air it out, or Andy Dalton, whoever's under center, whoever's doing it? Yeah, I think the Packers, I like them to cover here.
For 3 reasons, I'm going Chicago. 1, because I wanted to say the Bears. 2, because, well, we talked about earlier, divisional games late in the year, big spreads, usually the underdog hits, so I'm going to do that. And the third reason is just because you guys both picked Green Bay, so if I go Chicago, we are going to have this pick correct. So let's talk about the Monday night game with the Los Angeles Rams taking on the red-hot Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. Arizona is currently a 3-point favorite at home.
You know, Monday night game and a rematch of an earlier season game where the Cardinals won 37-20. That put these Cardinals on the 2021 map for one of the best teams in the league, at least until Kyler Murray was injured. But now Murray's back. And as Matt said last week, he called it. He's going to have 4 touchdowns. He threw 2 and ran for 2 against the Bears in a big win. At home, I'm taking the Cardinals to repeat Week 4's win against the Rams and to cover here.
Look, these two aren't the same teams that we saw earlier in the year, right? Look, Kyler Murray has been injured. DeAndre Hopkins have been injured. And well, look, both of them are back for this one. And that makes this game all the more exciting. But the Rams have lost Robert Woods, right? And they have Odell Beckham Jr., who they're trying to work in. And remember when I talked about moments, the moment that I saw a fade route to Odell Beckham Jr. one-on-one, that is how you use them correctly. I think the Rams are starting to figure out how to use their new weapon in OBJ. I like the Rams, at least in this regular season bout, to tie up this season series.
I'm excited for this game. Can't wait to watch this next Monday. But either way, I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I think they're getting a little bit healthier, and they don't have Matt Stafford. So I like Arizona here. All right, let's get into maybe your favorite part of the show. Maybe you just love it all. But either way, it's the locks of the week. If you didn't quite pay attention to all of it, you can still go back and watch it. Here is our 3 favorites, our locks of the week.
I've got the Ravens beating the Browns and covering. I've got the Cowboys going to the nation's capital and winning and covering. And my other lock of the week, the Packers at home in Lambeau Field. Covering.
I like the Bengals over the 49ers here this week. I like the Chargers over the Giants. And I also like the Ravens over those Cleveland Browns, who, even though I may be a part of them, I still think the Ravens win, yes.
I'm gonna continue with that. I'm gonna go with the Ravens plus 2.5. I'm gonna go Detroit plus 8. I'm gonna go Cincy minus 1. And if you're paying attention, our unanimous lock of the week, the one pick that we all truly love, that we think is going to hit, is Baltimore on the road plus 2.5. We can't thank you guys enough for taking some time out of your busy day to watch us and to recap. I'm Matt with Beard Laws. If you want to follow me on any social media is cool. If not, at least follow these two guys.
Follow me at Brandon J. McDermott all over social media.
And follow me at the Johanna Jones.
Hopefully you guys have lots of success. Either way, we'll see you here next week, week 15. We're super excited for it. Have a great weekend and best of luck on all of your bets.